There is definitely a dandelion in my potted plant that I killed. Huh.
Did you kill the potted plant or the dandelion?
The potted plant. You can't kill a dandelion. It's like God's perfect creation or something.
Hello and welcome to Book Retorts. I'm Sam.
I'm Danielle.
And this is the podcast about sharing your weird media finds with your friends who don't know what you're talking about.
Yay, that's me. What are we doing, Sam? Are we striking?
Yes, we're going to do the striking dance, which is where you sort of bob around like a bird and stab the ground. No.
Because strikes are birds.
Yes, they are, Danielle. I'm glad we remember that from episode 1.
That's the only thing I remember from Hyperion.
I mean, that's not true. You remember way more than you want to admit.
It's the only thing I learned.
That might be true. So, today I thought we'd give us both a reprieve from Hyperion, mostly because I just could not bear to face the concept of starting that saga again so soon. I just need, like, a brief moment of peace and tranquility before we dive back in.
And what did you choose for that piece?
So I brought you the 2023 film, The Secret Kingdom.
Okay, let's do it.
Yes, this is a very, I don't know if it's an indie film. It's not an indie film, but it's a very low budget film. I couldn't find an exact source for its budget, but I saw it was like less than $500,000 on one place, so, you know.
I mean, I wouldn't say no to less than $500,000 if somebody wanted to give that to
Sure.
me.
But when we get into the scope of this movie's ambition, you'll appreciate how thinly that budget was stretched.
Perfect. Love it.
So here's your description, Danielle. It will not help you.
Hidden beneath their bedroom floor lies a land of enchantment, which must be protected from an ancient enemy, the evil Shroud. As they embark on their quest to unite 5 mystical treasures and save the kingdom, Peter and Verity must face epic challenges that will test their bravery to the limit. Dun dun dun!
Yeah, so there you go. Try to piece together a more generic summary.
It is very generic, it's true. But the evil Shroud, Sam.
This movie, I have thoughts. We'll get into it. Let's just dive right in because there's too much to cover and my notes might be too long. We'll see.
Well, welcome to my life.
All right. So the film opens. One of the logos that comes up is Saban Films. You may remember Saban as the company that brought us the Power Rangers, among other things.
Well, then it's going to be great, Sam. What are you talking about?
Exactly. To be clear, they brought the Power Rangers to the United States, they didn't invent it.
Still. The United States version was fun.
Yeah, it was. It was absolutely insane and cobbled together from a bunch of other independent Japanese shows. Did
it also do the kangaroo people? Because I felt like that was a very similar vibe to Power Rangers.
No, they did not do the Warriors of Virtue, unfortunately. That was even more low budget or higher budget. Rich dentists funded themselves doing that. So who knows what that budget is?
Great movie.
So we open as all movies are contractually obligated to open with narration.
Yay! We love narration.
Yeah. It's amazing. And in this case, entirely superfluous. But I'm going to read it to you anyway, because if I had to hear it, so do you. Many moons ago, when the lands of the above and below were one, a young king ruled with a power of imagination so great that his very thoughts brought light and peace to all. But near the 12th year of his reign, a great tragedy befell the young king, and his grief so great split the world in two, the lands of the above and the below, where all memory of the tragedy was buried. And so it was that time stood still and a great darkness fell across the land. And in that darkness grew a creature made of fear itself, a creature known as the Shroud.
So his emotions reflected on the peace and prosperity of the country?
Yeah, not a great system for a
That is
nation.
Terrible.
Especially clearly a teenage person, obviously, if they're having emotional instability problems.
What a dystopia nightmare.
Yeah. So, blah, 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 young king, great power, great tragedy, everything's covered in darkness, etc., etc.
Do you ever find out what the tragedy was?
Maybe. So we open with a cut to a car where in the backseat a young boy, maybe like 12-ish, 13-ish, wakes up gasping. His very French mother turns around and asks if Peter is all right.
Is he the embodiment of the prince or the savior of the country?
Danielle, we will get to all of this. But I think anyone can figure out that if the narration opens with the description of a young king, And then the first thing we see in the movie is a young boy. They're probably connected.
I figure he's either going to save the world or he is a reincarnation of the king in some way.
Or is he going to destroy the world?
Yeah, he might be evil. It's possible. Maybe Verity is the person who helps him not destroy it.
We'll get into Verity in a minute. So he wakes up gasping like he had a bad dream. His very French mother turns around and asks if he's all right. I think they're in England, given the side of the road they're driving on, etc., etc. They pull up to a house, and the little girl in the car, presumably this one is Verity, his younger sister, is super excited. She jumps out of the car and just sort of spins around in circles in the driveway because, children.
Sure. They're excited. Are they in a new place? Are they moving? They're always
Peter
moving.
sulks. Danielle, give it like 3 seconds. So Peter sulks in the car while his parents exposit about how they're moving here or something.
See? Told you.
Yeah, like, Danielle, duh.
I've seen movies.
Yeah. I mean, if you weren't able to piece that together, I'd be really suspicious of your ability to, like, I would worry if you're, like, sick or something today. Did you hit your head?
Yes.
But I'm glad you appear to be healthy and cognitively complete.
As far as you can tell.
Well, it's hard to tell, to be honest with both of us here. Neither one of us is probably the best judge of the other's cognitive abilities.
Or we're really good.
Ooh, that'd be even more terrifying. So Peter sulks in the car while his parents exposit about how, I guess they're moving here or they've arrived and the dad used to visit in the summer, but now it's a bit run down. It's actually unclear, and it'll become more unclear later what they're doing here.
So this was like a property that the father used to summer at?
I don't know, Danielle. This movie throws out lines of dialogue that are inscrutable to me, and I don't think ever come back and resolve. So get ready for a lot of that.
Perfect.
So eventually Peter tries to step out of the car, but there's like this musical sting, and there's a bunch of like quick cuts to random images. And in the ground, there are cracks that sort of form, and he freaks out and slams the door closed.
So it's like what he's experiencing with the quick images? Okay.
And then he gets out the other side of the car just fine. But is clearly a bit freaked out by all the cracks in the asphalt on the path to the front door. And so he looks at his watch and says something about like, if I can make it in under 3 seconds. And then he does. He like starts timing himself to make it to the porch. And he gets there and his mom comes out and it's all like, oh, did you make it? So I guess this is a normal thing for him.
Where he times events to get through his anxiety.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. This is all very much in media res, unclear.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is very weird in that, like, it spoon feeds you a lot of exposition, but doesn't explain anything about the characters or, like, what's going on. So,
That's
like,
always fun.
I had that giant block of narration at the beginning, like, but, like, nothing else is explained. So, like, do I need to, like, figure things out or do I not, movie? Make up your mind. It's fine either way. I just need to know. So inside it's dusty, like the place is abandoned. And apparently they're just there to clean it because he asks his mom, like, how long are we going to be here? And she's like, oh, we're just here to clean the place or something. So I guess they're not moving there, but they're like living there to clean it. Like in The Shining where they are caretakers for I don't know what's going on, Danielle.
Or maybe they're cleaning it up to move into it later.
Maybe? Whoa, we'll get to that in a moment, I promise you. So anyway, Verity busts in exclaiming about how she found some like porcelain or like small marble figurines, like little statues. And she's like, oh, they are quite wonderful. I will keep them. She's very British.
Are they all British except for the mom?
Yeah, pretty much.
The 2 kids are British?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, you watch the movie, but you're not quite sure.
Look, at a certain point, sort of like the accents are just normal to me. Like they're all like, it just makes it like, I didn't think about their accents, but yeah, I think they're all British except for the mom who's French. Outback, Variety. Outback. Verity talks to a frog she calls a frog prince in the pond, and Peter scolds her that frog princes aren't real. The dad then tells them to close their eyes and asks what they see. And I feel like I have whiplash for how this movie like jumps from thing to thing. Anyway, Verity says she sees a magical kingdom and she's the queen. And the dad says, the kingdom of imagination awaits you. What is thy decree? And then Verity asks Peter what he sees, but Peter's apparently not very good at this game, and they're interrupted by the arrival of a moving truck.
He's like, I don't have any motivation or imagination in my head.
He has neither. He has no motivation or imagination as far as I can tell.
So a moving truck shows up, but they're not moving there?
Danielle, wait till you see this. This is amazing. Now you can understand how confused I was, because like, oh, they're moving there. No, wait, they're not moving there. Oh, wait, they're moving there? They're like, what is going on? Because it's like, we're not moving here. We're just here to clean. Okay, well, I guess the moving truck shows up. Anyway, as Variety, damn it.
It's like my Day and whatever their names were thing last time.
Sun, you remember Sun and Day?
I was going to say Moon because you threw me off when that, because you were like, where's Moon?
There should be a moon. It'd be the right answer.
There is no moon.
There is no moon. That's a Death Star.
They drove it into space.
As Verity runs off to get ready for a royal tea party, Peter walks down the hall and his dad, is talking to the mom, and he reveals that, surprise, their house was foreclosed upon, despite the mom thinking they had more time. So I guess the dad decided to surprise move the whole family to this new house they're cleaning.
Why would you not have that conversation with your partner?
Yeah.
Why?
Yes. I have no idea what his plan was. His plan was to okay, we all know we're going to this house to clean it, but I'm going to have the moving van surprise us there, even though I haven't told my wife yet that we lost the house.
That's almost grounds for divorce. I mean, come on.
The mom is very upset. It's crying and this family has lost so much already. And it's I am absolutely just completely befuddled by what's happening in this movie. I have no idea.
Do we find out what else they they have lost?
Maybe. Is the house not enough for you, Danielle?
No, if she's lost so much already, it implies that maybe there's more than just the house. I was just curious. Not that a house isn't a big deal.
We might get to that. We might not. That's the fun of these movies. We never know what's going to come back. Anyway, Peter locks himself in a small bedroom while his parents argue and he hyperventilates.
Aw. Do they argue a lot? Is that why he's hyperventilating? Or is he just having an anxiety attack to the fact that his parents are arguing at all?
I mean, who knows, Danielle, at this point? We've met this character for literally 3 minutes into this movie, I think, at this point.
20 minutes of podcast time.
Yeah, no, this movie is front-loaded. So the camera does some more quick cuts to random images of cracks and clocks and stuff. And then the walls seem to be cracking in the room and Peter freaks out and he dashes to the middle of the room. The sounds stop. Peter recovers. Then Verity pops in and leads Peter outside through a gate across the street, saying she found the entrance to the land of nowhere while crossing the street to the general store.
Perfect.
Yeah. So she's that, I don't want to say manic pixie dream girl, but the child equivalent of that.
There's a general store across. Is this suburban?
It was out in the woods as far as I could tell, but apparently it's across the street from a general store.
In my head, it was not next to anything. It sounded very woodsy.
It was, as far as I thought it was a woods, but no, there's a general store across the street.
Okay, sure.
Here's the fun part. When they cut to Peter opening the door, Verity has disappeared. And he's just it looks like a regular door to a someone's study. This looks not a general store, but a cross between someone's study and the antique shop from that story where the devil sells cursed antiques to people.
Sure.
So there's bookshelves and stuff filled with knickknacks and weird little clusters of, clothing racks and old stuff. And there's a desk with incense and it's weird, man.
And so he just opens it and it's a whole store and she's gone?
Yeah, just gone. He doesn't know where she is. So as he enters, a mysterious creature darts across the top of a bookshelf. Ooh, spooky.
Ooh, it's big, small? What's it look like?
It's very much hard to tell because it's right in front of the camera. You only see a brief shadow kind of thing. So Verity pops out of a coat rack and says, quickly, she knows we're here. And then we cut to some lady wandering around going, I smell something. I smell children.
Okay, not creepy at all.
Yeah. And then Verity is having just the biggest giggle fit hiding in the coat rack. So the lady calls them out and Verity introduces herself and then asks the lady if she could really smell them and what they smell like. Verity apparently smells like sugar and spice and all things nice. And Peter smells of fear and the things he does not yet see. So,
one is all normal and the other one's mystical.
Yeah, exactly. It's so good. Thank you, exposition lady. Appreciate the help. So Peter accidentally knocks into a shelf. When she's you smell of fear, he backs up and knocks into a shelf. And it causes some how do I describe this thing? It's 4 cubes stacked into a corner. It's a Tetris piece almost, but a 3D Tetris piece. How about that? Does that help?
Okay, sure.
And these cubes light up. And a creature from behind the shelf pushes the cubes off the shelf with a claw as they hit the ground. Peter freaks out, but neither Verity nor the proprietor of the shop seem to believe him, and he's forced to, honor the you break it, you buy it policy, so he pulls out a few random coins from his pocket, sure, this will be enough. So Peter just tries to leave, and the lady's hey, don't forget your cube. And he's no, you can have it. And she insists that, no, your majesty, it's yours now.
Okay, so she apparently seems to know that he's some kind of mystical-esque thing going on with him.
Yep.
And she doesn't believe that he supposedly saw these creatures.
Well, I think she's
Maybe.
She doesn't not believe him, but she's just sort of playing along that no, you broke it, you gotta buy it kind of thing.
She could have just given it to him.
She could have.
She's already being weird. What? It's not going to make her less weird.
Well, here's the fun part. When Verity and Peter leave, it the camera lingers on the lady and this black smoke stuff that comes out like behind her. It's very ominous.
Uh-oh, she evil?
Maybe. I don't know, Danielle. We'll never see her again.
She can smell children, so who knows?
Yeah, no, this is the extent of her participation in this movie.
That's weird.
Yeah, this old lady, she never, I thought for sure she's going to come back in some way or another, but nope.
Why end on a cliffhanger and make her seem potentially ominous if you're not ever going to circle back to that?
We will get to it, I think. I mean, I have to do a lot of connecting the dots at the end of this movie that may be just me making things up.
Are you sure this isn't the same as the kangaroo people? Because remember that one guy in the kangaroo story who never came back?
You mean the guy who gave him the book and everything?
Who gave him the book? Yeah, it's like the exact same thing. Literally the exact same plot. Yeah,
So, to be clear, we are 10 minutes into this movie, Danielle. I checked the clock, and so much has happened, and yet I have no idea what's going on. So they go back to the yard, and it's like dark now, so I guess they went from like early afternoon to midnight all of a sudden.
Sure.
The dad asks Peter to close his eyes and think of the very best thing ever. But first, he asks Peter to pick a hand. And when Peter does, the dad gives him, I can't really see what it gives him, but I do realize later it's a light bulb. So dad gives him a light bulb.
Like just a full-on normal-sized light bulb?
It's a small light bulb. So the dad is like hanging a string of lights in the backyard.
That's
so
weird.
It's like a 3/4 or like a 1/3 size light bulb. I don't know the actual like term for that size light bulb, but I'm sure there's someone out there who can tell me like, oh, it's a, Stanley whatever light bulb. I don't know. But
it's a mini light bulb.
Yeah, sure. And so Peter holds the light bulb and like closes his eyes and concentrates and then hands it back to his dad, who screws it into the string of lights in the yard, and they all short out. Womp womp. So Peter is very like put off by this and like depressed.
Well, he was depressed to begin with.
Yeah, but I had no idea what this like ritual was about. So Peter sulks off inside, and his mom gives him his presumably late grandfather's compass, so maybe the grandfather dying was the other tragedy?
Perhaps.
Well, maybe we'll find out, Danielle.
Maybe we will.
I don't know why she's giving it to him now, but this seems like the perfect time to receive it.
How did they manage to move if their house was foreclosed? Like in terms of money and everything?
Again, my guess is they didn't buy this house, they're just crashing there.
Just borrowing it?
I think, like I said, I think this is more like they're cleaning. And the dad's like, well, we have to get our stuff here. We'll figure out how to move it out later. Like, there's no plan.
Okay, sure.
Or maybe they do move here. Maybe we'll get to the end of this movie, Danielle, and there'll be questions that are answered.
Okay, so say that it's foreclosed. You have to move right away. So you bring your moving van to the place where you're staying for a little bit because you're cleaning it.
Yeah.
All that makes sense, I guess. But if
what next?
Yeah, like what's the plan? Because
no plan.
They must be cleaning it for a reason. So somebody else moving into it? Like,
these are all excellent questions, Danielle.
What is the plan?
The plan, I think the plan is the movie needed tragedy and also needed a reason to get them into this house for the first time.
Sure, but they could have just been moving there.
Yeah. None of this is necessary. Why are they being foreclosed upon? I guess they need the tragedy, but we'll get to it. The ending of this movie is amazing, Danielle.
You could have had a tragedy and them moving to this house. I don't see why this is as complicated as it is.
Maybe there was a house fire. That would have been a good way to do it.
I suppose so. I mean, they could have the grandpa died and they had their house foreclosed and now they're moving to this other place.
Yeah, or they could have the grandpa die, they're foreclosed upon, and now they're itinerant. Who knows?
Crazy. Or maybe this was some property that grandpa owned that he, you know.
Maybe.
See,
maybe
like, problem solved.
Maybe that is the answer to it. Yeah, we'll get to it. So that night, Peter's in bed. He played with the compass and he falls asleep. He's then abruptly woken by some weird noises. And then Verity comes into the room saying she needs the cube thing, like the thing he got from the antique shop, general store / devil house, whatever you want to call it. But she's not supposed to say why. Peter, reasonably, is in no mood for these games in the middle of the night and tells her to leave. But she insists, so Peter reluctantly agrees to sell it to her.
Okay.
So she runs off and grabs like a jar of coins and comes back and is like counting them out. But while doing so, she drops a coin and it falls through a knothole in the floor. Peter sticks his face down to the knothole to look for it and sees another strange eye staring back at him.
That's fun.
Yeah. The whole room starts to shake and change as the chasm opens up in the floor, and then Peter and Verity jump onto the bed, and the whole floor collapses and the bed falls into an underground cavern.
And the rest of the house didn't feel it?
Nope, apparently not. Okay. Mom and Dad are still asleep.
That's okay. Magic, whatever.
Yep. It's definitely magic. So Peter now has a flashlight, and he's freaking out a bunch, like holding the flashlight, as a bunch of creatures curled up in balls like pill bugs roll towards them.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's good. So the creatures arrive and circle them, uncurl to show that they're wearing armor. Like you don't get a good look at them right now.
Is this like CGI or what?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it decent or terrible?
I can get into this a bit later, but like for the budget, it's pretty good. Like here's the thing I'll say about this movie, and I'll touch on it later. It actually looks pretty cool. Like there's a lot of really cool visual ideas in this movie that I really enjoyed. Mm-hmm. It does not have the plot or the writing to support those visual ideas.
That's a shame.
Yeah. And the CGI is not like amazing. Like it looks CGI, but it's like, oh, this is totally passable, especially for the budget. And it's so stylized, like has a very distinct style and like unreal quality to it that it like, you give the pass. Like it doesn't bother you. It's not trying to be too real. It's trying to be kind of dreamlike. So yeah, I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to put that out there. Points to the movie for that.
Excellent.
So one of the creatures says something in a weird language, and then Verity translates that to say that it said to hold on tight. So they grip the bedpost as the creatures scoot the bed with the kids on it off into the caves.
How does she understand them?
That's a great question, Danielle.
She's magical.
We'll get to it, kind of. So actually, how they move the bed is pretty cool. Like 6 of the creatures like roll up into the little ball thing and become wheels under the bed, and they roll on the creatures. That's
exactly how I imagined it in my head when you described it earlier.
Yeah, but without an axle, like keeping the wheels in place, I don't think that would work.
Yeah, but they
just
magic.
Roll the bed off the creatures. But anyway, they race through the caves, and a smoke monster thing, the same thing that was like with the lady up in the shop, starts chasing them.
Ooh.
I know.
Is this a shroud or like a part of the
absolutely.
shroud?
It's a shroud, yeah. Or part of it. I don't know, Danielle, but it's clearly very shroud-like.
Okay. I don't know. Like, we've learned that you can't name things because things don't always look like they're named, Sam.
I mean, that's true. Wraiths are the case in point of that. But this movie does a pretty good job with the shroud being shroud-like.
That's good. When I read that earlier, I was like, this better be an actual shroud or I'm going to be really upset about it.
It'd be very funny if it was just like a dude just named the Shroud. So as they're running from the smoke monster, the Shroud, they cross a stone bridge, like a natural stone bridge over a chasm. And as they do, another of the creatures pulls a lever that drops like a giant stalactite on the bridge, destroying it.
That's dramatic.
And it seems like an inefficient way to, close your bridge because it's gone.
Yeah. Yes. Because does the Shroud normally chase anybody? Can the Shroud just jump over? Does it float?
Well, it does float. But despite the Shroud floating, it, stops at the chasm and is like, well, I can't cross that.
That seems not true.
Look, Danielle, I can only tell you what I saw. The Shroud is afraid of heights, I guess.
Maybe it propels off the ground. Like, maybe it has to have the ground beneath it.
Who knows? Point is, smoke monster defeated. Yay!
Hurrah!
So they arrive in a large, well-lit cave, and we finally get a good look at these creatures, Danielle. What do you think they are?
Are they humanoid or are they not?
No.
I know. Are they little bugs? Do they actually pill bugs? Because that'd be pretty funny.
No, they're pangolins.
Pangolins?
You know what a pangolin is? Oh, Danielle, this is what I'm preparing for.
What's a pangolin?
Let me send you one of my favorite pictures of a pangolin so you can see these things.
Okay.
Why don't you describe it for our listeners?
It's such a cute picture.
Yeah, that's why I sent it to you.
It's got a little face.
Well, good start.
It looks like it has little armor on, and then this picture has it like almost sitting down, like cats sit down or something, and it's got little claw paws that are out in front of it, and it looks like it's trying to sell you something.
They are very cute. They kind of look like armadillos, but like more dragon-like than armadillos.
Well, this picture does not suggest armadillos nor dragons.
Try this one.
That one looks like an armadillo or dragon.
Yeah.
What is their plating made out of?
Keratin.
Is it sharp? Is it hard?
Danielle, yeah, I have a pet pangolin in my
well, you
apartment.
seem to have done some research.
This is the extent of the research I've done, is that their scales are made of keratin like your fingernails, and that's about it.
Are they based out of Asia?
Asia, Africa.
Yeah. I think I have heard of them before, but it could not bring that to mind.
Right. So this movie is all in on pangolins, Danielle. This is a pangolin world, and we're only participants in it.
But they can talk, at least in their own language.
Yes, absolutely. They walk upright, and that's why I should do that first photo of the pangolins, because it's how they all look when they walk around the whole time.
I think that's cute.
It's very good.
Do they really roll in balls and like roll around?
They do curl up to like protect themselves like an armadillo does. I don't know if they actually like locomote that way.
Because that would be fun.
I don't think so.
That's a shame.
This is the reason I did this movie, Daniel. Like, oh, pangolins, that's weird. I am in.
Love it. Okay. Thank you for the visual.
You're welcome. So, Verity starts chatting with them, rather nonplussed, and she says, oh, of course, he can't understand you yet. And then one of the creatures, like from 3 feet away, sticks out a very long tongue that like, darts into and out of Peter's ear a few times.
Ew.
Yeah. And now you can understand them. He's like, oh, great. Now I can understand you. That's all it took, was getting tongued in the ear by a pangolin.
So is that what happened to her? Is that why she can understand them?
Presumably, she's like, oh, it doesn't hurt. It just tickles. Like when it's about to happen. And he's like, what?
When did she have time to discover these?
Yeah. Oh, very, like, was she here before? Like,
like, when did this happen?
Maybe one of them came to her, like, and told her to go get Peter in the box thing, in the cubes, and that's how they ended up here.
Sure.
Anyway, that's when a giant pangolin called General Rump walks in, demanding to know what this is all about. He's told that they have been victorious. They've rescued the king. Rump is not impressed by this child. It's like, that's not the king. It's just a child. And you've exposed our entire position for this child. And then the elder pangolin comes up and says that the king shall not be judged by his years, but by his deeds. So thank you, elder pangolin.
But he hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah, thank you. I had the same thought, like, what deeds? He fell through a hole. So for a movie that started with expositional narration, you'd think I'd have some clue as to what's going on.
Nope.
And
there hasn't been any other expositional narration yet either.
Oh, there's about to be some. So the elder pangolin tells the general that the prophecy trumps protocol, and the general is not impressed with the concept of prophecy either. So Peter finally asks who they are and why they were brought here. The elder pangolin, name not important, explains that he was brought here based on the prophecy of the pangolin to restore and reunite their worlds, bring back light, bring balance to the force, all that, chosen one nonsense.
So they call themselves pangolins.
Yes, they are the pangolin.
Are they? But they're neither in Asia nor Africa, it seems.
That is correct, yes.
They started somebody's pet that turned into a mystical force
and
went
underground. This is a magic underground kingdom, Danielle. Who knows how they got there?
It's just interesting that they call themselves after something that actually exists.
Yeah, no, this movie is weird. So they also say that Peter brought with him an object of great power, a golden piece inscribed with the language of prophecy, which is apparently that cube thing he got from the shop. So cool,
like
cool
his
beans.
Compass?
Oh yeah, I thought that too, but nope, it's the cube thing. That he had absolutely no hand in acquiring. It was just given to him. So,
by somebody who's potentially evil. What if they were setting him up to be like the fake prophet?
So I'll get to this in this movie, but this movie does a whole thing like he's a chosen one. He has all this power. But he does nothing. Peter's just handed victories. It's amazing.
But then there is. It's fine.
Yeah. So the crowd of pangolin are awed, though Peter tries to protest. He's not the king. He can't possibly be the king. But the elder pangolin is all like, well, Your Majesty, it's time for a tour. And while Peter is not into it, Verity is super into it. So the elder pangolin explains that they closed the portal back to their world for safety, so they're stuck there. Cool.
That's how it works. You can't go on an adventure if you're not stuck in the place.
Right.
Otherwise, you just go home.
Yeah. Verity is just having the best time. She is so delighted to be here. She's all bubbly and chatty while Peter is morose.
Why can't she beat the person that's meant to cure them?
Oh, Danielle. Good question with a hilarious answer.
Patriarchy.
So that's when Pling, the elder's nephew, runs up and sees the compass Peter has and is all, wow, you really are the king. You're here. And cool, the compass. I forgot about that.
He's the king because he has a compass?
Apparently that's a sign. We'll get to it. Maybe. I don't know, Danielle. This
Do we ever hear the prophecy?
Danielle, we hear so much prophecy. I will not be sharing any of it with you because it's pointless.
None of it's about a compass?
No. So Pling is then sent to fetch a magic or sacred book or something, and they go to a cave where the prophecy is written on the ceiling of this giant cave for reasons that are beyond me.
Because it's cool.
So they basically recap the opening narration, the land above and below were united, blah, blah, blah. And then Peter and Verity are also inscribed up there. The elder then recites this rhyming poem about the prophecy that boils down to, a super cool dude will arrive as our king and find 5 magic MacGuffins to combine in a sacred place to kill the Shroud and reset time.
Sure. Why not?
So it's a fetch quest, Danielle. He has to go on a scavenger hunt.
I always wonder why, when there's like a bad guy, there would ever be a quest where you just have to like get a bunch of things, put them in the same location, and somehow that destroys the bad guy.
It's nonsense.
Like, it should always have to be like a fight, or you have a super magic power, or like...
Nope.
Otherwise, anybody could do it.
Yes. Thank you. He has to go find 5 things and combine them, but like, why Peter? Why can some random pangolin just go like, oh, we have all the clues, we have the book, we'll get to it. But nope, it has to be Peter, and they're just gonna wait there on their like sitting on their hands until Peter arrives to do the work for them.
Yeah, crazy.
So the elder explains there's a great clock in the citadel, the sacred place, that can bring light back to the underground. Suddenly, the cave shakes and the ceilings crack. They're under attack by the Shroud!
Oh,
so they prepare to evacuate.
Does the Shroud just exist as a single entity, or does it have like a whole
army
of Shroud that's...
It's not like the Nothing from the Neverending Story where it just sort of consumes and grows.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely like a distinct thing that is the Shroud, but it also has, I don't know, it's complicated. It doesn't get any clearer, I promise.
Doesn't have shroudlings?
It has minions. We'll get to it. Let's just say we'll get to it, and maybe that'll clear things up.
Okay.
So they have to evacuate, but first the elder has to give more exposition. So... he explains how the Shroud breached into the world above, so they brought Peter down here to protect him and fulfill the prophecy, since the Shroud is a creature of fear itself that only fears the power of the king. Got it?
So yeah, except that their king is very fearful. So did the Shroud already get to him?
Well, boy.
Is he secretly like Shroud Jr.?
Everything's junior with you, Danielle. The Shroud could have a kid named Peter. Don't put him in a box.
I said Shroudlings and Shroudettes earlier. That's not junior.
That's more like a singing group.
I said bonus Hardies. What more do you want from me?
So Pling gives Peter the magic book, and as explained in the book are pages that have clues to the location of the 5 missing pieces of the clock.
Again, something they could have accomplished on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. However, Peter looks, but the pages are all blank. And the elder explains, the songs are hidden from the Shroud. You will go to the Luminaire. He will teach you to see them.
Sure.
So... this is all very convoluted and contrived.
It feels like they know how to do all these things. How come they can't do this? How do they know Peter is the chosen one besides his compass and possible cube that was given to him by a sketchy entity?
It shows him and his sister. Like, it's clear that they are the, like, chosen pair or whatever.
Okay, sure.
I agree. I think any random pangolin could have solved this years ago, but here we are. So the army of pangolins sets out to take Peter and Verity to the Luminaire. And as they leave, they are told by the elder to trust no one. The Shroud has many minions and many forms. So as they march off, the pangolin army sings a fun marching song, which we'll get to very later, but these songs are very important because Pling explains that they use songs to remember where to go, like an oral tradition map quest.
With music.
So like as they sing their journey in real time. So it's not just like a mnemonic. It's like, as you're singing, you have to keep beat to your song so that like it tells you turn left now, and then turn right.
Sure.
So you can only go at ever one speed. You can only travel at one speed.
You never go faster or slower.
It seems like so much less efficient. Like they have writing. They can just write it down.
Or memorize it.
Yeah. Or just like, say like, oh, it's 3 steps. Like you don't need to make like a giant, 4-hour song to just tell you like go straight, turn left at the giant tree or whatever.
Maybe they can't go any faster or slower, Sam. They're 1-speed pangolins.
Maybe. But Pling notes that, hey, this is the wrong song. It doesn't go to the Luminaire.
Then why are they singing it?
Well, it appears Rump has gone rogue and is taking everyone to the stronghold, wherever that is, instead of the Luminaire. Because he's like, I'm not going to risk the lives of my people for this kid who is clearly not the king.
But his plan was destroyed by the song. How could he ever have a secret?
Well, apparently the only one who is against him is Pling. Everyone else was on board with this plan.
Oh, okay, sure.
So Peter tries to timidly order a Rump to take them to the Luminaire. He's like, I'm your king. I command you to take me to the Luminaire. Although he's more like, I am your king. You will take me to the Luminaire. And Rump is unimpressed.
How did he become king in the first place if he's not strong enough to stand up against any of the other pangolins?
He was declared king because of prophecy.
Okay, well... So they go out of their way to go get these kids, and then they decide that they're gonna go to their stronghold and not do anything with these kids.
So it's mostly like the elder pangolin and his crew, I guess, who decide to go get Peter, and it seems like there's like a fracture in the pangolin society between General Rump and his pragmatist army people and the mystics
Sure.
who lead
But
leaders.
they don't believe that their kids are part of the prophecy, even though you said it was pretty clear that these kids were the things from the prophecy.
Yeah, again, let me tell you something, Danielle. About 30 seconds here, Rump will not appear in this movie ever again.
I don't understand the fraction if they, like...
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Obviously have the kids.
It does not matter. This whole, like contrived, like, I thought it was going to set up Rump to be like an antagonist where he's like against the king and is trying to do misguided but trying to protect his people and eventually comes around and supports him. No. So Rump is unimpressed about, Peter's trying to argue with him, and then the Shroud attacks and just murders several of the pangolins.
Oh, no.
And the ceiling collapses, and then Verity falls, like sliding down a chasm. And then I guess Peter dives in after her. It's unclear. It's sort of unclear what happened. But either way, Verity and Peter are separated from the pangolin army. And we never see the pangolin army again. They're removed from the story.
That's
their
so
job is done.
I like the pangolins.
No, we're not done with the pangolins. We're done with the army. But General Rump and his whole, like, named character status, not relevant. So they slide, and they end up outside of a cave on top of some ledge in what looks like an outside area, like mesas, and there's a sun and everything, but there's also an upside down mountains hanging from the sky.
That's cool.
Yeah, like I said earlier, this is a very visually interesting movie. Like, I think it'd be a very cool video game in that it has very cool locations to explore and a lot of very, like, unique visual artifacts and style.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a pity that nothing else makes sense in this movie. Anyway, Pling also slides out and joins them. And apparently this was all part of the prophecy, so no worries. He's like, oh yeah, he recites some couplets from the prophecy about them going someplace and ending up here. So it was all foretold.
Do they know that these things are coming up, or do they just realize that it was foretold after it happens?
I have no idea. Peter still protests, like, I can't be king. This is all nonsense. But Verity is all in. And so she said she's called a think. So she's called a think, whatever that means, and that Peter is scared because he doesn't know how to be king, so she should be queen, and she's had a lot of experience being a princess, so clearly she has the resume.
Mm-hmm.
Pling is all, you can't just declare yourself royalty, and Verity is like, why not? And also to support Verity here, they just declared Peter the king. Like, you didn't, like, what?
Yeah, he was foretold, though.
Peter interrupts to ask Pling to lead them to the Luminaire, and with the help of his compass, Pling locates where they are and then sings a song of direction as they head off towards the Luminaire. Later that night, Verity is still all, Peter doesn't want to be king, I want to be queen, why can't I? And Pling says a king can only be named by succession or challenge.
Okay.
So
I want Verity to challenge Peter, or whatever his name is. That'd be pretty funny.
My question is, what succession or challenge did Peter accomplish to be named king?
I don't know. I was assuming succession somehow.
Probably, yes. But, oh boy, is it nonsense. Meanwhile, Peter is doing that thing about making it a certain distance in 3 seconds while looking at his watch, so it comes up a lot. I assume it's some kind of anxiety soothing ritual, but I'm not sure why.
Does it come up later? Does it save him in any way?
No.
Interesting choice.
Yeah.
Does he get over it by the end? Is it like overcoming his
anxiety?
I don't know.
We'll see, Danielle. We'll see.
You do know, as you always point out to me when I say I don't know.
Danielle, you will see if I know or not by the end of this, I promise. So they're walking through these forests now. They walked into the forest, and it's getting dark, and suddenly the grove lights up with a giant, like, steampunk face, and they look like phonograph, like the projectors from a phonograph, the horns. And the steampunk face tells him to go away. Peter insists that they want to see the Luminaire, and the face immediately breaks down, like falls apart. And Wizard of Oz style, it was being controlled by like a bush baby or something behind it.
I figured it was. I actually was thinking Wizard of Oz in my head.
Yeah, no, that was everyone's first thought, I guarantee. I do enjoy that it's a bush baby, though. That's very fun.
What's with all their weird creatures?
It's a great question. So Peter deduces that this creature is the Luminaire and shows it the book, and the Luminaire says, oh, you are not the king yet. You do not see. There's much to learn. Not much time. It's very Yoda, basically.
I was just thinking that.
So it gives Peter this weird pair of glasses that, like, it's like an eye exam. As it, like, flips through the different settings, it, like, does infrared vision or this weird vision. Like, it does some, like, fun tricks. But concludes that his eyes are fine. The brain is the problem.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, probably true. Yeah. I want to take again a moment here to appreciate that I'm skipping over a lot of the visual aspects because they'd be so hard to describe. But like they do a lot of cool stuff here. Like the eye exam, they use a bunch of like golden butterflies that fly into the pattern for the eye chart kind of stuff.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah. So very lush, very colorful. I just wish I had some idea of what was going on in this movie.
He's on an adventure, Sam, obviously.
Obviously. No, I'm sorry. Peter does make this point later. It's not an adventure. It's a quest.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. He's a jerk about it. So anyway, Peter is told to open the book, and the Luminaire puts the cube thing that he got on the page, and images start to appear, like magically on the page. And we get some more rhyming prophecy exposition riddles. So the Luminaire says that each piece knows another's place. So like it'll be a daisy chain. You find one piece, it'll tell you where the next one is. Mm-hmm. So the page shows another rhyme that a piece is hidden in plain sight in a forest somewhere. Hint, it's this forest where they are right now.
This still feels like something that a pangolin could have done. I'm waiting for it to feel like something that Peter needs to be doing.
Oh, Danielle, it doesn't. It never does. So Peter starts looking around for the piece. He struggles at first, but eventually with Verity's help, he spots another Tetris piece, like floating up in the canopy, just hanging out, just staying out there in plain sight, floating in the air.
And he doesn't even find it on his own. Verity finds it.
Well, she helps him, but he looks up and oh, there it is, up in the sky. It's not even hidden. What are they doing?
You think there'd be things? It'd be some kind of thing that he would have to get through that only his brain could work through.
So Peter sees the piece up in the sky, but is how do I get up there to get it? And so the Luminaire gives him a light bulb and tells the one his father gave him earlier.
Right.
And tells Peter to close his eyes and concentrate. The light bulb sprouts wings and becomes a light bulb bug. Mm-hmm. And he gets a brief vision of another one of those flashes of vision that's been going on throughout the movie, and the light bulb explodes. It dies. Uh-oh.
So sad.
The light bulb dies because of his fear. Did you realize he's got fear, Danielle? Because apparently the movie wants to make sure he has fear, and it's a fear, and fear's a thing.
So his fear is destroying things.
I don't know. We don't know what his fear is yet. All we know is that he has flashes of thing, and then he's afraid, and then the thing dies.
That's a bummer. Is this supposed to be a metaphor for a thing with his dad? Is his dad a pangolin?
His dad's a pangolin, yes. So
I don't know what's happening.
The big twist at the end is that his dad is a pangolin in disguise. That's why the house was foreclosed upon, because he couldn't get a job because of pangolin discrimination.
You know how in Wizard of Oz, everything in Oz is a little bit of a metaphor for what's going on in her actual life? I'm curious if this is the same thing.
We'll have to figure out the end, Danielle, if that's true or not. We'll see. Anyway, he tries again, and this time the light bulb bug flies up and gets the piece for Peter. So yeah, he did it. Did what? I don't know.
Quenched his fear.
Sure. So the piece sort of floats down and lands in the book, and another riddle poem thing appears, and Pling recognizes one of the locations from that riddle as an ancient combat arena. They can be there by morning.
Again, a pangolin could do this.
Yes. In fact, a pangolin is necessary to do this, because Peter and Verity would have been lost without Pling.
So, can they not control the light bulbs? Pangolins, they have them, but they can't control them?
Well, to be fair, the bush baby had the light bulbs, not the pangolins.
Whatever. So the bush baby couldn't have gotten it?
I do not know. No one else in this movie tries to control the light bulbs, which is shocking given how amazingly powerful they become.
Okay.
Anyway, Pling starts singing as they head out again.
So I have a question about the singing.
Yeah,
please. So they have a song for every location and then how to get to the next location, correct?
Not quite that. So Pling's we need to use the East song starting at line 158 or something.
So the whole area is mapped out in song, essentially.
Right. Yes.
So no matter where they end up, if you know where you are, you can start a song at whatever line and it'll get you to where you need to be.
Yes.
So it seems like without the songs, they have a map imprinted in their brain because they know exactly where they are and how they get to the place, because that doesn't make any sense.
Thank you. Like I said, why do they need the songs where they could just you go, I know that you go left for 3 miles, it's fine or whatever. You don't need to, there's a reason if you do a GPS map route, it's not hey, go straight, keep going straight, keep going straight, keep going, turn down, turn down. There's a reason it's not in real time. It's something you can look at ahead of time. Okay, there's the whole route, and there are parts of it that are just the same. Just keep straight for 50 miles. No need to tell me, hey guys, are you still thinking about going straight? Oh, you passed a tree. Keep passing that tree. Pass the next tree. Go look. There's a leaf there. Past that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's
because
absolutely insane.
If you have the depth of knowledge to know exactly where you are in a song to get to the location that you need to be, you already know where you are. You don't need to know how to get there.
You don't need the song. The song is superfluous. I completely agree.
And it makes sense if it was part of just your kind of your group thing that you did to, make
you're marching
longs.
Or whatever.
Yeah, make them less boring, but it doesn't make sense in terms of navigation.
No, they cannot, without the songs, they are lost. They cannot navigate.
I have to assume that's some weird magic thing about the pangolins.
I mean, I don't know pangolins personally. I assume that they have, so maybe they sing. Maybe there's a lot of singing pangolins out there. I'm glad that you're hung up on the most throwaway part of this movie. It's so good. It's so good.
Always.
It's great. I was really happy that you picked up on the songs. I was upset about the songs, but I'm like, I don't want to dwell on that. I don't want to take away from the rest. I'm like, okay, well, Danielle's got my back. All right. So they arrive at what looks like a Colosseum, like the Colosseum, but made into a sundial, because clocks are also a very big thing in this, a big motif in this movie.
Sure. Or compasses.
No, just clocks. The compass is not relevant.
Why?
We'll get to it, but it also doesn't matter. So Verity asks what time the clock shows, and Pling says, I'm afraid it's too early to tell. When the eye begins to close, the shadow will move about the dial, and the time after will begin.
It's just nonsense. She's just saying things.
That's Pling, not Verity.
Okay, I was like, what?
So Verity asks what time it shows, and Pling's like, I can't tell you. Here's a bunch of nonsense that doesn't make any sense to anyone.
Makes sense to him.
And so that's the kind of baffling dialogue that they're spouting all the time that I have condensed into a semi-coherent narration.
This is like Wonderland.
No, it makes less sense than Wonderland.
Just mean the phrasing of things.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I know you hate Wonderland, but we're not getting to that.
I hate the construct of the rules of Wonderland, or the lack of rules of Wonderland.
Yeah, I know.
And the nonsense phrasing that they use to explain
Danielle
everything.
needs structure.
I just think it'd be a terrifying place to be dropped into, is all I'm saying. I appreciate the concept of Wonderland as a novel.
So anyway, Peter tries to solve the riddle he's given, and the pangolin pauses for a moment to explain to Verity how Roman numerals work, because that's what's on the sundial.
Mm-hmm.
So the riddle involves something about finding the age of men, and it makes a bunch of references to numbers, and Peter is all like, well, there's some of the numbers after 13, but the clock stops at 12. And Pling says many cultures consider 13 to be the age of men.
Okay.
Which, what? I guess it's so I think what he's implying is 13 is the age at which you become an adult.
Okay, that makes more sense, I suppose.
But it's phrased as the age of man is 13. And I'm like, what is going on here? Is this Lord of the Rings? The age of man is upon us? What is this? It's 13. Anyway, so the answer is apparently 13. So they scour the area and looking for 13, which is not on a clock face, obviously. But luckily, Peter just stumbles across it on a wall. So hey, again, there's 13 on a wall.
Pangolins.
Could have done it. And so then he pushes, there's a reference to the 3 blind mice, so he pushes the eye of a mouse that's in the mosaic on the wall with the 13, and the wall just opens up in a secret compartment with other clock pieces there.
Perfect. Problem solved.
What problem, Danielle? There was no problem.
Well, I needed to find the thing. He figured it out.
He has the least agency of any mystical hero I've ever encountered. He does nothing to earn these pieces. There's a brief riddle, and he solves by looking around until he sees there's number 13 on the wall.
Yeah, that's
Dunzo.
Such an odd choice when writing a character that's supposed to overcome his fear, I assume, as a plot line.
You would think, why have this fetch quest, and why have it be so
benign,
boring? Yeah. It's just the challenges are not challenging or interesting. They're not he has to learn something about himself through the riddles, trying to tell him something or test him in some way. It's just can you figure out the number is 13? Look for it on the wall. Riddle solved.
Yeah. Weird storytelling.
So weird. It's such a shame because, like I said, I think it's very interesting, all the locations, but it feels like the writing is just there to get them from interesting location to interesting location.
Mm.
And it has no purpose other than that.
Impressive. So he finds 13.
Yeah. He pushes the eye of the mosaic, gets the magic puzzle piece, the clock piece. As soon as he grabs it, they hear wing beats of a creature. So they all scatter and hide between the pillars of the Colosseum as a cross between a velociraptor and a dragon lands in the middle of the Colosseum.
Love that.
Yeah. So it has the size and the wings of a dragon, but it has the little tiny arms of a velociraptor. So it's very good. Peter pulls out another light bulb bug, and he tries to, like, magic it to do something. But again, he gets confronted by the, like, flashes of images in his head of a clock and other things, and suddenly it breaks.
He really needs to master his fear.
Yeah, you think? So he freaks out and starts to hyperventilate and does the whole, if I make it there in 3 seconds, even though he's not talking about where he's going. But he manages to finally, like, sort of convince himself to go out and confront the thing, yelling in a very shaky voice, "Leave my sister alone. I am your king. You will yield." Well, he holds out the clock piece, I guess. So guess what happens, Danielle?
It goes away.
Better than that, it totally works. The dragon's all like, "Oh, forgive me, your majesty," and, like, bows and cowers between him and begs for forgiveness.
Whatever.
Whatever. The creature, like, says, "I was just hungry, but I wasn't going to eat you. I'm an empath. I eat my feelings, so to speak." And I'm like, what is happening? It also, like, shapeshifts a little bit, but it's like, I've gotten old, so I don't shapeshift as well as I used to. That's fun. So Peter forgives it, and it introduces itself with a very long name I did not catch, but everyone calls it Mendax. So this is Mendax, the shapeshifting dragon velociraptor thing.
Dragon raptor?
Velocidragon.
Velocidragon.
It's a Velocidragon, that tail.
Velocigan.
Velocigan, sure. So Pling says that the creature doesn't appear in the prophecy and might not be trustworthy. But Peter is all, "Nah, let's ride this dragon to the next location from the magic book."
I thought Peter was scared of things.
Apparently he's all about Mendax. So the book reveals the location of the next piece, so they head off. They pause for a moment while going.
It doesn't say in the prophecy, like, how they get from point A to point B, right?
I'm going to have words about this prophecy later, Danielle. I have so many words about the prophecy.
So, like, how would it matter how they get there?
Yeah, we will get to it. They're riding the dragon's running, and they pause for a moment for Pling to give directions because he's singing very quickly and getting out of breath to keep up with the dragon moving so quickly, which, what? That's how the song works? So instead of them saying, "Hey, why don't you just tell us how, like, what the directions are," Mendax suggests that he can sprint from each verse of the song is like a new location. So it's like they'll listen one verse and he'll sprint to that place, and they'll listen to the next verse and sprint to the next one, like a connect the dots.
Maybe the songs are, like, tied into their spatial memory somehow. So they, like, even though they know where they are at all given times and how to get to a specific location, unless they sing the song, they can't, like, actually visualize it.
I have no idea, but it is a baffling choice.
I'm going to explain this. I'm going to figure it out.
If you could, please, Danielle, if you can come up with an explanation that's satisfactory, I would love it.
That's my best guess.
I want you to watch this movie.
My best guess.
I want you to watch this movie and tell me.
I'm tempted. It sounds interesting. But I think my best guess right now is that the song is somehow tied up in their spatial memory, and they literally cannot remember it unless they're singing it. Even though they actually, like, know where they are. There's some kind of tie-in to the music that makes it happen. All
right, Danielle, that's the explanation we'll go with for now.
Perfect.
But I'm still saying nonsense.
I mean, it makes as much sense as anything else. It makes more sense than they just have to sing to get to a place when they know where they are.
I can't argue with that.
But if song plays a memory trigger, that's different.
Sure. Let's go with it. So Mendax prepares to sprint to the next location, and as he does, he says to himself, "I bet I can make it there in 3 seconds." Which is like Peter's thing. And Peter's all like, "Wait a minute, Mendax, you do that too?" And Mendax is like, "Oh yeah, it's just a game I play with myself to feel better when I'm uneasy." And Peter's like, "Oh yeah, me too." And they're all like buddy about it. It's very cute.
Is he a metaphor?
No, he hasn't met him before.
I said, is he a metaphor?
I'm kidding.
Dumb.
Ask a silly question, Danielle. So off they go in sprints to reach a desert temple. And outside are white statues of pangolins, clearly fallen soldiers, as Ping says, since the Shroud Army has been through here looking for the pieces.
So the Shrouds know the pieces exist too.
Yeah.
But the Shroud can't read the book?
But it doesn't have the book, and I guess it can't, like, do basic puzzle solving. Or, like, look up into a tree canopy.
It's all nonsense.
It's, like, this quest is so dumb. Like, It's such a sad thing because there's so much of this movie dedicated, like, doing, it feels like a homebrew, like, D&D campaign or something for, like, children, where it's like really easy puzzles that people can solve and they can feel better, but it's just not very gripping to watch, I'll be honest. So Peter is sure that the Shroud didn't find the artifact and still there because apparently his compass now points to the location of the artifacts. So when did that happen? What was that a thing?
I don't know.
Yeah, apparently it's a thing now. Will that come useful later? No. It is never brought up again, pretty much.
Love that, always.
So they go into the temple and they do another rhyme riddle. In the temple, he finds another creature, a two-headed turtle with a backpack, and the two heads talk in rhymes, like one line at a time. Like one of them will say a sentence, the other one will rhyme it or something. It's infuriating.
Does it wear the backpack? Like, so it's a two-headed turtle and it's got its little backpack that like spans between its body, like its two heads.
No, the backpack is like, it's two heads, two shoulders, and it's just like the backpack is on its shell.
That's cute.
It's very cute, but I don't understand this turtle. And sometimes it does like stops talking in rhyme, like it'll say stuff, and it's like, so I think it's just an affectation it puts on to be dramatic. Like it's clearly a very dramatic, like it does a lot, it loves drama, and it has like a drama mask in its backpack.
Love it. Dramatic turtles.
So this turtle is just like, I want to talk in rhymes to annoy people, but also sometimes I'll forget to when I want to be like, for a moment when I'm talking to myself, like, or the two heads are talking to each other. It's weird. It's so weird. So the turtle instantly recognizes Peter as the king and introduces itself as Ego and Ergo. Sure. Peter then asks if it can help them find the piece. So Ergo gives another rhyming riddle that doesn't mean anything to any of them, so not very helpful. And Peter starts getting all very pouty, and Verity says he's acting like he used to. She thought he was going to be brave, but Peter retorts, "Why would you think that? I'm not brave."
Yeah.
But Verity says being scared doesn't mean you're not brave, and that he did a lot of brave things, like coming after her when the bed fell and standing up to Mendak. So being brave is about doing things even if you are afraid, etc., etc. Like, yes, we all read, basic fables.
Mm-hmm.
So Verity storms off to, quote, make Mendax into a proper unicorn.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. It never comes up again. She just says it, and Mendax is never made into a unicorn. I am disappointed.
He's not remotely a unicorn. Why would he be made into a proper unicorn?
This movie just throws out things like that and like non sequiturs. I'm like, what? So Peter seems to like take the argument to heart and starts to like snap out of it and finally get into the groove of like looking for the riddle. And he stumbles into the riddle answer. I won't go into the details, but it basically involves looking at a wall of symbols on it and then doing that magic eye thing where you focus behind the image, you unfocus your eyes. And it shows him a bunch of astrology symbols.
I can never see those super clear. Like, I definitely see the perception of something. Like, I know there's something there, but I can never, like, fully see what the thing is.
Oh, I'm so good at those, man. I can do it. I practice a lot to get it to work, but I can just do it on cue now.
No, I totally, like, I can see the 3D image. Like, I know there's the image there, and I could probably outline it with my finger, but for the life of me, it's like my brain just can't figure out what the thing is, even though I can see the actual shape of it.
Well, that's a different problem.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Thank you for sharing, Danielle. I'll be sure to give you a book of magic eyes for your birthday.
Well, at work, somebody in one of the offices has one on the wall, and it's like a jungle or something. And every time they explain what it looks like, I'm like, yeah, that I can see that the thing is there. Like, there's a monkey there. But I can't.
Are you sure it's not a bush baby?
But I couldn't have told you that it was a monkey. It may be a bush baby.
So after Peter finds the symbols, he goes over to like a giant combo lock, like the spinny kind that you would see on like a briefcase.
Mm-hmm.
And it has all the symbols on. He starts like just spinning it around until it puts the right symbols in the right order.
He doesn't even solve the problem and like do this. This bothers me.
That's it. And then boom, it opens up and the new piece is there. That's it. That's the whole quest. Do a magic eye, put the combination to the lock on the wall there. Dunzo.
Maybe only human eyes can do that.
Nope, because he asks Pling to read the symbols to him so he can go over there and fill them in.
Another thing a pangolin could do.
Yeah. Why is Peter necessary? Why couldn't you just like the Shroud just brute force that combination? It's not like there's like 8 symbols. It could be pretty easy. Anyway, success. Peter again solves a riddle by stumbling into the answer by mistake, almost by accident. Who knows? As he grabs the piece, they hear Verity scream, and Peter runs out to see a Clockwork Army holding Verity and Mendex captive. So it's like a bunch of clockwork robots, kind of like the ones from the movie iRobot, but clockwork. And honestly, more interesting than that movie was.
Why are there so many clocks in this place?
You know, Danielle, a good question I have not figured out the answer to.
Okay.
So one of the mechanical soldiers demands the pieces to the clock. And as Peter's like struggling with them, Mendex breaks free and attacks. But the soldier's already grabbed the piece of the clock and runs off. So Peter pulls out another light bulb bug from his bag. Apparently he was just given like a whole supply of them by the Luminaire.
Yeah, okay.
And he manages to get to work this time, and it flies after the soldier and obliterates it with a flash of light, and then the whole army crumbles to rubble. Like, apparently it just killed everything. So, yay, Peter.
So was killing one of them what caused the others to die, or was it the bug that killed all of them?
The bug killed one of them, and maybe it by extension also killed the others. I don't know. We only see the bug interact with one of the soldiers, but apparently it destroyed the whole army.
So we're assuming these weren't were these sentient soldiers? Did he just kill like sentient creatures in mass?
They were clockwork, so I don't know. Like, this is a question for, a high science fiction and Bicentennial Man and that kind of stuff, not necessarily this movie.
I was just curious if he felt bad at destroying an entire army.
No, apparently not. He has no compunction about it. He's very happy. So unfortunately, Verity has been injured in some unclear way, and her, skin is slowly turning into the same statue as a stone. Like, it starts at her hand.
Why?
I don't know. Somehow, maybe one of these soldiers infected her with the shroud or something.
Okay.
I don't know. We don't see how she gets injured. She just is.
It was not so much that she got injured. It's that she somehow is injured in a way that turns her to stone, which seems kind of crazy.
So that's what the shroud does, apparently. We learned this here.
Oh, okay.
And to be clear, metaphor time, the statue she's turning into looks just like the porcelain statue she was finding in the house at the very beginning of the movie.
Creepy. The house is haunted by a shroud.
So apparently the only way to release the statues, according to Pling, and save all of the quote-unquote fallen, is to complete the quest and turn back the clock time, or start time up on the clock. I'm not sure what if it's turn the clock back or start the clock back up again. One of those is the way to solve the quest.
Okay. So she found a bunch of dead bodies basically in the house.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fun.
And so all the stone statues of the pangolins, which are killed, quote unquote, by the shroud, will be released when Peter solves the quest.
Okay, no pressure, Peter.
Yep. So Mendix grows some wings and they fly off to the next location with Ergo and Ego in tow.
They leave Verity there?
No, they bring her too. She's not a statue yet. She's slowly turning into one.
Got it.
So the location they fly to is a mountain on an ocean.
Sure.
They land, and the place is covered in those basalt columns, those hexagonal basalt columns. Mm-hmm. So it looks pretty cool, as usual. And so as they walk around, Verity is all sleepy, and don't let her fall asleep, and...
Or what?
She'll turn to stone. I guess.
She's already turning into stone.
Yeah. I don't know. So... Peter is Ergo and Ego, you stay with Verity while I go into this cave here and try to figure out this puzzle for the piece. But Ergo and Ego are wait, there's something we need to tell you. Oh, but we can't remember what it is. So that's helpful.
They seem kind of useless.
They are worse than useless, as we will see in a moment. So inside this cave in the mountain is a altar with a floating grid of hexagons on it. And Peter's well, what's this all about? So he starts touching it because, and as he pushes on one of the hexagons in the little grid, it flips over to reveal a symbol. So he does this a few times and he realizes, it's a game of memory. You have to flip over the things and match the symbols.
I'm really good at that game, just for the record.
I'm sure you are. Yeah. I mean, it's not a game that requires much skill, to be honest.
It's not, but some people have really bad memories.
Yeah. So you have at least a normal memory. Good job.
I know. I'm proud of myself.
I'm proud of you too.
Good job, me.
I just love that the super secure method they use to protect the magical clock piece is a child's game of memory. What a terrible clock. Why couldn't a pangolin do this? Why couldn't literally a child just randomly wander into this cave and accidentally find the piece? Wild stuff. But lest you think it's all fun and games, when he gets matches wrong, the floor starts to shake and collapse. So he has a certain number of wrong guesses before I guess they're murdered by the room.
I figured.
But also the whole point of the game of memory is you start out by getting a bunch of matches wrong until you know where things are.
Yeah.
So
you think you'd have a beginning, right?
Yeah.
You have 30 seconds to run through as many matches as you can.
Yeah. So I don't really understand how this works or why it's a good clock magic artifact protection method, but it's the one they got. So whatever. So Pling is very nervous because he doesn't want to die from Peter killing them. And he states that the prophecy only says the king makes it to the citadel. But many things that have happened so far in this journey are not mentioned in the prophecy. And Peter's wait a minute. That means I can't be the king because the prophecy isn't about me since I'm doing stuff that isn't in the prophecy. And I'm wait a minute, what? Does a prophecy have to include every little detail of every event? I mean, you're fulfilling all the big beats of the prophecy, but the prophecy didn't say that we would stop for take a bathroom break here at 2:00, so must be wrong. It's bonkers. This prophecy makes no sense. I hate it. I hate prophecies in general because they're trite, but this one is the worst.
Sounds like it's a pretty long prophecy, though. Maybe it does include the day by day.
It'd be amazing if it was like, Peter and his sister will arrive. They will say these words, and then they will go, and they'll be singing the wrong song. They'll fall down a chasm, they'll walk around the forest, and then they'll find the luminaire, and he'll fail the first time he does the light bulb, and he'll succeed the second time he does the light bulb.
How terrible would that be, though, if you were reading that prophecy and you're like your whole life, how would you even do that?
What is free will, Danielle?
Yeah, it would be so stressful. Because if you got even like one step off, you'd be like, oh God, are we not in the prophecy anymore?
What an insane prophecy concept. This movie is making me bonkers. I can't handle it. So Peter gets very angry about suddenly not being the prophetic king and yells at Pling, like, why are you here if you know I'm not the king? And Pling is like, well, it's because you're my friend and I believe in you. I'm like, cool. Not prophecy. Not going to save your people.
You just thought, that's actually, this again stands to reason that you could have anybody doing this. Because
exactly.
Apparently you got through several of these.
He's almost solved. Oh, he's on the last piece right now. And if he's not the one of the prophecy, what's even the point of the prophecy? You wasted your entire lives waiting for this kid when you could have done this yourselves, you fools.
That'd actually be a really good book, wouldn't it?
What, like where it was like
the prophecy's
waiting for
nonsense.
the prophetic guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the guy shows up and he's like, wait a minute, you guys were waiting for me? I'm not like special. Like, this is just children to give a memory. You could have done this. Like, no. We need the prophetic guy to do this. Like, really? Like, anyone can do this. Let me just show you. And he did it. Oh, he did it. He's the magic one.
Be pretty funny.
That is a great book idea. I love it. Let's do it. Anyway, Peter manages to solve this literal children's game barely, but the place where the last piece should be is empty. It's gone. Oh no.
Oh no, it's because it's not part of the prophecy.
Yeah, I guess so. I have no idea. So they leave and Mendax is all, you didn't find it? Did you miss it? And they all like get like huffy and like yell at Mendax like, back up, buddy. Get out of my way. He's like storms off to see Verity. And Verity is there and she's like, you must promise to remember me. And then she turns to stone.
Sorry, it's not funny.
It is funny. It's very funny.
Poor Verity.
Gone. So Peter like goes over to a cliff and starts crying and then throws the magic book off into the ocean. But before he does that, Ergo and Ego are having a conversation. They're like, this is like the Requiem. This is the place where he throws the book off. And then he does. They're like, wait a minute. Is the turtle prophetic? What's going on here?
Why is he still part of the prophecy if he's not part of the prophecy?
I don't think that's part of the prophecy. I think the turtle is just like making a comment about storytelling. And he's like, oh, this is the Requiem. It's the place that, does all this. And it's like, as he's going to throw the book off. And it's like, wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. Nothing anyone says in this movie makes sense to me.
What if somebody thought you were the thing for the prophecy, but you weren't, but then you're going through all the clues of the prophecy and you're
succeeding anyway?
And you're succeeding anyway, but let's pretend like it doesn't work out because you're not actually the thing of the prophecy, but now you've destroyed all the things that like they need for the prophecy. How does that work?
You get through everything and the last one is like, you must use a drop of your blood that has the, the lineage of the king or whatever to solve the last puzzle.
He threw the book off the thing. What if there was another kid that was part of the prophecy now doesn't have the book?
That kid's screwed.
Like, how does it work?
It doesn't. So Ergo and Ego are like, oh, wait a minute. We remember what we were supposed to tell you. And they rush over to tell him something. And as they do, they trip and fall over and smash their shell apart. Like their shell smashes open.
No.
So they're dead, right? Because the shell is like fused to the spine of a turtle.
Yeah,
it's not
bad.
removable. No, but they're fine. It's just like they were wearing it as a clothing, apparently.
Well, that's good, I guess. But that's not how turtles work.
This is definitely not how turtles work. It's not how anything works. But as they get up, they reveal that the missing piece was in their shell the whole time. Somehow they had it.
Okay.
Yeah. How did they get it?
It was very convenient of them to fall. Probably part of the prophecy. It's fine.
How did they get it, Danielle? If it's so easy for them to get the one from the memory game.
Maybe they ate it and then pooped it into their shell.
No, but like, did they come to the magic island, the basalt island here, into the cave, solve the memory game, take the piece, put it in their shell, go back to the temple in the desert and just forget about it?
Yeah, they were trying to help out. They're
so
like,
when
the boy
necessary?
comes, we will give
turtle can... If the turtle can get the piece from the cave, why is Peter necessary?
I don't know.
If the turtle can accidentally get the piece from the cave, why is Peter a thing?
Or
why is there a prophecy? Why anything has happened? Why story? Why story?
Maybe it magically got the piece, and then the whole point was that Peter was supposed to befriend the turtle who would go on the adventure with him because the turtles had the piece that he needed, and the only way that he would have gotten the piece is if Peter befriended the turtles.
Yeah,
no other creature would have befriended the turtles.
No, everyone befriended the turtles. The turtles are chill, dude. Verity was super chill with the turtles.
I was just throwing it out there. Maybe this series of events had to happen for them to to break open so he could get the last piece.
But why just have the last piece in the place where I don't get angry at this movie? It makes no sense. This movie is like, it's trying to do, like, it wanted to have a failure moment so Peter could, like, be all sad and mopey, like a Dark Night of the Soul before it, like, does the turnaround. Like, it's trying to hit all the story beats, but it has no competence for how to, like, work them in organically. So it's like, he needs to fail, so we'll hide the piece. But then he needs the piece to succeed, so we'll just give it right back to him. It's like, literally 30 seconds of, failure. Oh, wait, no kidding. This is magically here. No problem.
Hilarious.
No, he didn't have to, like, learn anything. He didn't have to, like, solve any problems to overcome this obstacle. It's just like, oh, no, I forgot to tell you. We had it the whole time.
Love it.
Peter is like, superfluous to this story. He is just a passenger. Wild stuff. There's the last piece. Hey, he has all the pieces, but oh no, he doesn't have the book. And he is so mad. He screams in anguish that he like threw the book away, but actually succeeded by getting the last piece. Like, I have the last piece now, but I destroyed the book.
Life's hard.
So we get a nice shot of him screaming as like we zoom around the cliffs. But then guess what? Mendax appears holding the book.
I was going to say something
gone.
Comes up that flies as the book.
Yeah, Mendax flies up with the book. No worries. Problem solved. There's literally no problem in this movie that lasts more than 30 seconds for our heroes.
That's okay. Sometimes I appreciate that.
There's also no problem that they solve through their own agency that isn't just handed to them as the solution.
That's more annoying.
Yeah. So the last piece is put on the book and reveals another riddle about them having to go to the Citadel and fix the clock, and how the power is in the king, like the key was inside his domain. It's all like very, metaphor for like what's inside, yada, 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 inside the king. So they fly off, leaving Verity behind with Ergo and Ego to look after her.
Sure. I'm not sure I'd trust the double turtles, but whatever. They'd probably forget what they
chill her more.
They probably forget they were watching her and wander off. Somebody would steal
her. They're
her.
gonna double turn her to stone. They're gonna make her double stone.
Somebody's gonna steal her. The Shroud's gonna take her.
Boy, I'm gonna love the ending of this movie for you. So Mendax lands at the Citadel and has a suspicious amount of knowledge about the place.
Is he evil?
He reminds Pling about the Gauntlet, which is an armored sentinel that guards the tower and is impenetrable, and even the Shroud couldn't get past it, and only the true king can pass. Peter, who still believes he's not the king, but is going along with this anyways, upset about this. He's like, you didn't tell me about this earlier? I'm not the real king. How am I going to do this?
Good question.
But, don't worry. It's very stupid.
He asks nicely. They let him in.
Boy, that is not how this goes down. So, inside, the Gauntlet is a literal, like, army of gauntlets, like rows of giant armored gloves, like a 3x3 grid of giant armored gloves sticking out of the ground. So I'm not sure how effective these are as guardians if they're immobile and just giant hands.
Can they move?
No, they are stuck into the ground like a forest kind of stuff, like a forest of giant armored gloves, gauntlets.
Do their fingers move? Can they like reach out?
Yeah, like they're completely articulate. They can bend, and they do this thing like, oh, give me eyes. So one of them like makes like the little symbol, like you put that little thing with your hands over your eyes to make like, it does that. Like, so they can't see or hear unless they make like gestures to see. That's kind
of cool.
These are the most, they're very weird. Again, visually, super cool. Does it make sense as a guardian for this? No, it doesn't make it. Like, this would be the worst guardian ever. Never use those. Anyway, Peter is introduced by Mendax as the king, and then Peter demands to be let to pass as the king. The gauntlets sort of laugh at him and say only the king may pass, and a false claim of kinghood is punishable by death. So they demand he prove his power. And Peter's like, how do I do that? And they're like, well, you're the king. You're the one to decide how to prove your power. Like, only you know how to prove your power if you're the king. What? The king knows how to do this.
Sure, okay.
If you're a real king, you'll know how to prove your power to us. And so Peter says, how about a game? I challenge you to guess the game, Danielle. Ooh, guess the game.
Simon says.
No.
I Spy.
No. They're giant hands.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yes. So he's like, let's do rock, paper, scissors. The gloves are like, yeah, sure, let's do that. Best of 3. And I'm like, what? If you win, you get a pass. Like,
this is just
that's
a fever
not how you
dream.
determine who the real king is. Just rock, paper, scissors. What is happening?
He's not really there. Peter is asleep in his bed. He is like delusional with a fever. And that would explain why none of this seems real.
If your magic impenetrable guardians are like, you can play a game of chance, and if you like beat us at rock, paper, scissors, yeah, sure. We'll let you. What? These guardians suck.
A pangolin could do this.
A pangolin can easily do this, apparently, but they don't have fingers. Like, so maybe they can't make all the shapes. Maybe that's why they can't do it.
They could have 2 pangolins and, like, they could just decide what shapes
combine.
Combine to make the shapes.
Yeah, sure. No. But the guards are, like, on board, and I don't know why this is, like, they're like, yeah, this is a great way for you to prove your power as king. Rock, paper, scissors. Nonsense.
You know what? I'm looking at the pictures of the pangolins, and they do have, like, 2 little claws, at least. So they could definitely do a rock, paper, scissors. Flat would be, they have more than 2 claws. No, they
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. You're right, Danielle. I did not mean to besmirch the pangolins. They could easily do this. Peter is again useless.
Yeah, they have 2. They definitely have 2 big claws. Like the one that's standing up in the picture.
Fact, Danielle.
The one
this is Danielle's pangolin fact corner. We've graduated from crab facts to pangolin facts.
I just learned about pangolins, but now I need facts. They're really good at rock, paper, scissors.
That's a great fact, Danielle. You got me.
They look like they could slice things. That could be their scissors.
Sure. All right. Let's go with it. But let me tell you about this rock, paper, scissors game, Danielle.
Sure. Sorry.
So Peter throws scissors first. Rookie mistake. Loses the point. He then wins the next point by, again, throwing scissors.
Of course.
But the gauntlets insist that they won anyway, so they have 2 points.
What?
Yeah, there's like, okay, we won anyway. And Peter's like, why? And then they say, well, there's 1 round left, but I thought they already won 2 rounds, and it was best of 3. So maybe he only has to win 1 of the 3 rounds to win? I don't know what's going on.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, they're like, you have 1 round left. I'm like, but you've already lost 2 rounds, according to you. So they prepare to count for the 3rd throw, and Peter pulls one of the light bulbs out of his satchel, and he puts it in his hand, and when he throws for the last one, he throws like a thumbs up with the hand with the light bulb in it. Uh-huh. And the guards are like, what is that symbol? He's like, it's dynamite. And then the light bulb like lights up, and the light bulb bug flies around and just murders all the gauntlets, like destroys them. They're gone.
That's how he's going to take over the kingdom again, is just murder everybody.
With the, again, Peter does nothing. The magic light bulb bug does it all. Like,
it's powered by his imagination and non-fear, Sam.
Yeah, he didn't outsmart them. He didn't do anything clever. He just lost at rock, paper, scissors and then murdered them with the bug light bulb magic toy.
Well, he was supposed to show his power. That is certainly powerful.
I mean, touche. He murdered the guardian, so not much of a guardian anymore, I guess. I mean, it was so powerful, even the Shroud couldn't defeat it, but the magic light bulb bugs he got from the bush baby in the forest, dang, can take it down, no problem.
It's because they're powered by Peter.
Oh, I hated it so much. Anyway, they move forward and find the room with the clock, and Peter pulls out the pieces and starts assembling them. So the pieces all stack together to make a cube, like a 3x3 cube, a Rubik's Cube. Mm-hmm. But nothing happens. And Peter mentions maybe needing to think outside the box, a phrase his sister used earlier. And I didn't mention because why would I mention such a benign phrase? But Pling is all like, ooh, I haven't heard that one before. That's a very interesting saying.
Okay. Well, he is a pangolin.
Yeah, he is a pangolin. Maybe they don't have boxes in pangolin land. So Peter rearranged the pieces so they look like a Cubert board, if that makes sense. Like it's like a stacked stepstone, like it goes to a point.
Sure.
If you just Google Cubert, you'll see what I'm talking about.
I believe you.
I'm telling everyone out there too. And so Peter says, do you know what a king's domain is? It's a castle. So apparently this structure is supposed to represent a castle. And apparently it's the correct shape to use because a small part of the piece of one of the pieces opens up, like a face of one of the cubes opens up, revealing a tiny key on a chain. Now, I thought the whole prophecy thing was like, about the key being in the king's domain and the power inside of him. I thought it was going to be like a metaphorical key and him needing to find the key within himself. But nope, it's just a literal key in a box.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Like, he's done nothing except rearrange it into a Cubert shape of the boxes for no apparent reason. Like, why of all the different structures did he pick that one? Because it does not look like a castle, I'll be honest.
I can't tell you.
Anyway, he pulls the key out of the box, and suddenly the Shroud appears and turns Pling into a statue.
Was it just waiting? Was it like a trick key?
No. It turns out that Mendax was the Shroud the whole time.
See? Told you.
Well, I mean, duh. The very first thing Pling says is we shouldn't trust this guy. And Peter's like, nah, we should ride the dragon.
What was the plan? Mendix's plan if they didn't trust him?
Turn them all to stone. Anyway, we'll get to plans later. Like, my thought is, why not just destroy Peter from the start and like, you're good. No prophecy to stop you anymore.
Yeah, why would you let him get this far to begin with?
Well, we will get into that. We're going to get into the whole, like, there's like 5 minutes left of this movie and it's all exposition from here.
Wonderful.
So Peter is like, super ticked off. He's yelling, "You lied to me! I thought you were my friend! You used me!"
How did he know? How did the Shroud know about the 3-second thing?
Well, Danielle, give it 3 seconds and we'll find out.
Okay.
And the Shroud retorts, "You don't see. You made me. I am your fear. But I could be more. I could be anger. I could be rage. I know what you keep buried below."
In his belly button?
Yes, his belly button. No. So Peter reaches for one of the light bulb bugs, but the Shroud took them all and like smashes them on the floor.
Aww.
So Peter is out of luck.
Bummer.
He runs and hides and freaks out behind a pillar, just like he did in the Colosseum. The Shroud taunts that with each panicked breath, it grows stronger. And Peter starts to focus on the images that have been flashing through his mind this whole movie. Mm-hmm. And like the Shroud is going off about how like, hey, you and I, you power me. We could become better. I could become more powerful. And Peter's like ignoring it. And we see the images. They start to resolve into a hospital gurney and the beeping of a heart monitor. And we flash back to earlier scenes of the movie. But as we see them again, Verity fades out of them. We then see Verity lying in a bed wearing a small key on a necklace, the same one Peter just pulled out of the box. And then we see her tombstone. Surprise! She's dead. They did a Sixth Sense. She's dead.
I told you it was a metaphor for whatever was going on in his real life.
Oh, yeah, duh. You mean the children's fable is a metaphor? I never thought of that.
Poor Verity. We liked her.
She's dead. They did a Sixth Sense, but way less impressively. Because they only had like 2 scenes with Verity in it, with the parents. And otherwise it's just her and Peter. So like, cool.
I guess it probably would have been more interesting to do a while with the parents and like...
That's what I think. And like had the more interaction. Because I go back and looked, like they kind of cheat. Like they kind of interact with her, but they sort of also ignore her. Like she interacts with them and everything. Mm-hmm. But they don't like respond directly. So it's kind of ambiguous. But yeah, it's not quite as impressive as the Sixth Sense was with like going back. Oh yeah, no one ever looks at him or talks to him.
Right.
So... Anyway, surprise, dead child. I also learned from her tombstone that it's 1961, so I had no idea. So the Shroud says, "Now you see, the time before can never be restored. Only I can give you the control you crave. I own you."
Okay.
And then Peter stands up and very like defiantly says, "No, I own me," which is not quite as good a retort as he thinks it is.
The fear wouldn't give him the control he craves. That sentence doesn't make sense.
It does not. I think like also the fear here is making a play to be rage as well and anger, and like that even gives you less control usually.
Maybe it feels like control. I don't know. I'm not a very rageful person.
Well, we can fix that, I'm sure. So Peter makes his big one line and reveals that he has a light bulb bug in his hand. I guess he like picked it up off the floor and it wasn't completely smashed. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it flies into the Shroud and explodes it. Shroud done. Bye-bye.
That was so fast.
Yeah, no, there's literally every problem is solved either by having the problem handed to Peter or by the magic light bulb bugs destroying the thing that is in his way.
So he's overcome his fear.
I guess
and
so.
Sadness.
Yep, he's done. He's now a happy child. His dead sister means nothing to him anymore. So Peter goes over to a small keyhole on a pillar in the middle of the room and inserts and turns the key, and it starts the giant clock moving again. Light fills the room. Pling breaks free of being a statue, and Peter tells him that it's over. He and Peter leave the tower, and a group of recently freed pangolin are gathered up front. Some like firefly things bring a crown and put it on his head. Verity is back, and she hugs Peter and tells him she's proud of him. Peter passes the crown to Verity, making her queen, and she tells Peter that he has to let her go now.
No offense to Peter's story here, but it feels like he didn't have to work very hard to get over the concern for his sister's death.
Not at all. Absolutely. The camera pans up. We see the cracks in the walls in his room. Like, we're going back to his bedroom, and all the cracks in the walls and the ruined floor that they fell through, it all like heals itself and like goes in reverse. Mm-hmm. Then his dad comes in saying, "We're going to fix up this room." He's like, "Wait a minute. It's all fixed. Did you do that?" And Peter just says, "I guess the light got in. Now close your eyes and tell me what you see." And he starts to retell the whole story about like falling to the underground and doing the adventure. Our last shot is the camera zooming out on Verity holding court as queen over the pangolins in the underground. The end.
Sure.
Yeah. That's the movie. Giant grief metaphor that does not pan out.
I'm not surprised at that, but I still do not understand what they're doing in this house. Like, at the end is he moving into that bedroom? Is that his now?
Great question. Also, what happened to their foreclosed house? That's not resolved. This family's going to be out on their butts in like a week. Also, the lady from the beginning who was the evil lady in the store, why did she give him this piece? What is her part to play in all this? Well, doesn't matter.
Is it even real? Who knows? This might just been in his head.
It always is his head. It was like a dream he had, basically.
Right. She was the Shroud because he was scared of her.
Yeah, but why do that and then have her not come back later in the movie?
I don't know, Sam. Why do any of the things that happen in that movie?
That's a really good question. There's nothing mattered in this movie.
I think almost
like the compass he got from his grandfather. Is his grandfather dead? What happened to his grandfather?
Almost nothing is more frustrating than a movie that has a lot of potential but does not use any of that potential.
It is so bonkers. I'm like, this movie looks really cool, but the story is not good. It's like, I don't think it's bad. Like, the messages are good. The concepts are good. It's just, it feels kind of inept to say. Like, it feels that it needed another pass to get to the point where it's like, the twists were good. It does a good job of like hiding that, but they could have done more with it. Like it feels like, if they spent more time with the parents, maybe establish Peter as like his sadness and how he struggled in the real world more without his sister. Like, I have no idea about his relationship with his sister when she was alive. Like, were they friends? Were they just like bratty to each other? I don't know.
Yeah.
So
sounds like it needed more writing.
Yeah. I just needed, that's a good way to put it, Danielle. So I think it's a fun watch. To go, you can take a look at it. I think it's worth looking at. Scene for the visuals are very cool. But man, I am just so baffled by everything that happened to the movie. And I want to know more about like the house. Why are they at the house? What happened to their old house? What happened to the grandfather? Why is he giving the compass? Why does the compass not play much of a part in the movie?
Why did none of the pangolins just do the quest on their own?
Right. Why is King Pangolin, the elder pangolin, send him on this quest and then he never shows up again? Why pangolins? I mean, they're cool, but like, why? What's the metaphor for the pangolin? What's the metaphor of the bush babies?
Why not pangolins?
I mean, I said the same thing about Warriors of Virtue. I'm up for like the weird creatures being used, but like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't help you understand anything better.
It made perfect sense in Warriors of Virtue. Thank you very much.
Okay, my mistake. I also wanted Peter to be like more of a free agent and not just along for the ride. Like, I don't feel he earned getting over his sister. All he does is have an argument at the very end with the Shroud and it disappears. And he's like, okay, I guess I'm over it now.
Yeah, he definitely. I feel like each little quest should have brought him some kind of like closer towards his getting over his fear.
And like, there's a bunch of stuff, like the movie drops all these clues, in the form of the prophecy about like the eyes closed and like you can't go back to the time before, all that kind of stuff. So it does that, but like Peter never does anything with that. He never has to like, every step of the quest could have been him like learning to operate without his sister. Like, maybe if he relied on her as like a social crutch for his anxiety.
Right.
And she's gone. Now he has to learn how to like do something on his own. That was like the first problem. The second problem, he has to learn how to be sad without it being like overwhelming. Like, it's okay to be sad. Like, he learns that or whatever.
Sounds like you should rewrite this movie, Sam.
Oh man, that's more work than I want to do, Danielle. Anyway, a very interesting movie. Like, so interesting.
But a lot of interesting and odd plot choices.
Yeah. Very, and like visually very cool. And I wish the rest of it like had the same level of care as the visual design. Anyway.
That's where they spent the budget. They didn't spend it on the rest of the movie, Sam.
There you have it. The Secret Kingdom.
Thanks for sharing.
That was a movie.
It was a movie.
You're welcome.
That existed.
Like most of the things we do, they exist.
I'm willing to watch that. It sounded fun.
I think you should. If you have like an afternoon to kill, you don't want something that's not going to be like too, heavy or like require too much attention. It's a good movie for that.
Sounds interesting.
Well, if anyone out there has an answer for why the pangolins didn't just do the quest themselves, please write into us at bookretorts.com and explain it to us.
You can also tweet, Instagram, or Facebook us at bookretorts. I would also accept pangolin facts. We are factless on the pangolins.
Well, speak for yourself, Danielle. I already got the fact that their scales are made of the same thing as fingernails.
That's true, and that they're really good at rock, paper, scissors. But it would be nice to know more facts about pangolins. So if you're a pangolin connoisseur, we would love to know more about pangolins.
Pangolinosaur.
Pangolinosaur.
And if you want to help us start a collection to get Peter and his family into a new home, because apparently there isn't a solution to that problem.
If they even need one, they may be just there. Who knows?
Who knows? Either way, you can donate to that at patreon.com/bookretorts.
Wild. Why make that the most complicated part of the movie?
I mean, that didn't even need to be part of it. Like, remember how you said at the beginning, why do they need to have that? The sister's death is the tragedy. They could have had this, like, no tragedy to start with.
Yeah.
And we uncover the tragedy later. Like, the eviction is not necessary.
It could easily just be them starting over and they're, really wanted to build up a new house.
Yeah. Wild choice.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure they get their house back, so we got to do this collection. All right, well, until next time, if you need to, please see a grief counselor. Don't go on a magical quest.
You could solve your problem. You don't know that. What if it's prophesized?
You know what? Fair point. I'm not here to judge. Well, until then, bye.
Take care, everybody. I always end up rewatching movies that didn't reach their full potential. Like maybe they're going to be better the next time I watch them. It's like just like this weird
optimism.
It's just this weird. There's a couple of movies I watched several times because I'm like, I want this movie to be good, and it's not good.
Maybe this time the universe will fix it for me.
It's like I think I'm misremembering it. Like maybe it was better than I thought, and then I watched it again. I'm like, nope, still not.
It sounds like
there.
an abusive relationship, Danielle. Because like maybe the problem is me, not the movie.